Adeswa's hands trembled as she clutched the letter, the elegant script swimming before her eyes. A daughter. The words echoed in the sudden silence of their usually lively home in Lagos. Femi was at school, Oluwatoni napping peacefully in her crib, and Chinedu was at work. She was alone with this bombshell of a secret. She reread the letter, searching for any clues that could shed light on this mystery. The letter was dated several years before she had met Chinedu, but the mention of a daughter was undeniable. Why hadn't he ever spoken of this? Had he forgotten, or was it a secret he intentionally kept hidden? The thought sent a sharp pang of hurt through her heart. After all they had been through, the challenge they had overcome, she had believed that their bond was unbreakable, built on honesty and trust. Adeswa carefully placed the letter back in the box, her mind racing. She needed to confront Chinedu, but she wanted to do it calmly, without jumping to conclusions. She decided to wait for him to come home, to observe him, to try and find any hint of these secrets in his demeanor. The hours crawled by. Adeswa found it difficult to focus on anything. The joy she had felt just moments before discovering the letter had been replaced by gnawing anxiety. She busied herself with household chores, trying to appear normal, but her thoughts were a whirlwind of questions and suspicions. Finally, she heard the familiar sound of Chinedu's car pulling into the driveway. Her heart pounded as he walked through the door, his usual warm smile greeting her. She forced a smile in return, trying to mask the turmoil within. They had dinner, chatting about their day, their children, and everything. Chinedu seemed his usual loving self, with no indication of the secret Adeswa now held. She watched him closely, searching for any flicker of guilt or unease, but found nothing. Later, as they sat in the living room, Oluwatoni asleep in her cot nearby, Adeswa knew she couldn't hold it any longer. She took a deep breath and spoke, her voice surprisingly steady. Chinedu, I found a letter today. Chinedu's smile faded, a flicker of apprehension crossing his face. A letter? What letter? Adeswa retrieved the letter from where she had hidden it and handed it to him. He took it, his eyes scanning the familiar script as he read. His face paled, and his hands began to tremble. Silence hung heavy in the air as Chinedu finished reading. He looked up at Adeswa, his eyes filled with a mixture of fear and regret. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. Who is I? Adeswa asked, her voice barely above a whisper. And who is her daughter? Chinedu finally found his voice. His words filled with remorse. Adeswa, my love, this is from a long time ago, before I met you. Her name is Ifyok. Adeswa's heart sank. The name echoed the initials she had seen on the letter. And the daughter, she pressed, needing to know the truth, however painful it might be. Chinedu hesitated, his eyes filled with tears. Her name is Abimbola. She is my daughter. The revelation hit Adeswa like a tidal wave. A daughter. Chinedu had a daughter? A child he had never told her about? All the years they had spent together, the intimacy they had shared, and this crucial part of his life had remained hidden. Tears welled up in Adeswa's eyes, a mixture of hurt and confusion. Why, Chinedu? Why didn't you ever tell me? We share everything. I thought we did. Chinedu reached for her hand, his touch cold and clammy. Adeswa, please, let me explain. It is a long story, and it is not as simple as it seems. He went on to explain that his relationship with Ifyok had been brief and had ended before he met Adeswa. He had not known about Abimbola until Ifyok contacted him shortly before his wedding to Adeswa, revealing that she was pregnant. He had been torn, confused and untimely afraid of jeopardizing his relationship with Adeswa, afraid of the unknown responsibility of fatherhood at this stage in his life. He had made the wrong choice, hoping the situation would somehow resolve itself. He explained that Ifyok had moved away shortly after Abimbola was born, and he had lost contact with them. He had tried to find them over the years, but his efforts had been unsuccessful. The letter Adeswa found was an old one, from a time when Ifyok had briefly reconnected. Adesua listened, her heart heavy with a mix of emotions. She understood his fear, his past insecurities, but the fact that he had kept such a significant secret from her for a long time felt like a deep betrayal. "And you never thought to tell me?" she asked, her voice filled with pain. "Not even after we got married, not even after we adopted Femi, not even after Oluwatoyin was born?" Chinedu looked down, shame ached on his face. "I know I should have, Adesua. I was wrong. I was afraid of what you would think, afraid of losing you. Please believe me. I love you more than anything." Adesua was silent for a long time, trying to process everything she had just heard. The man she loved had a daughter, a part of his life she knew nothing about. The foundation of trust she had thought they built felt shaken. She looked at Oluwatoyin sleeping peacefully in her cot, then at the picture of Femi smiling brightly on the mantelpiece. Her heart ached for them, and for the little girl she had just learned about, a child who was Chinedu's flesh and blood. "What are we going to do, Chinedu?" she finally asked, her voice filled with a mixture of sadness and determination. This changes everything." Chinedu looked at her, his eyes filled with hope. "Whatever you want to do, Adesua, I will understand. But I want us to find her. I want to be a father to Abimbola. I want you to be a part of her life too, if you will let me." Adesua thought about her faith, about forgiveness, about the importance of family. It wouldn't be easy, but she knew in her heart what she had to do. "She will find her, Chinedu," she said, her voice firm. "We will find your daughter, and we will do what is right for everyone." The road ahead was uncertain, filled with potential challenges and emotional hurdles. But as Adesua looked at her husband, his eyes filled with remorse and a newfound determination. She knew that their love, though tested, was strong enough to weather this storm. The discovery of Chinedu's secret daughter had opened a new chapter in their lives, a chapter filled with unknown, but one they would face together, with faith and love as their guiding principles. The question that lingered, however, was what kind of relationship they would have with this newfound daughter, and how this revelation would untimely shake their family. The search for Abimbola began immediately. Chinedu, with Adesua's unwavering support, reached out to old contacts, friends from his past, anyone who might have information about Ifyok. Adesua, using her network within their church and community in Lagos, also made inquiries. It was like searching for a single grain of sand on the vast beaches of Lagos. But they were determined. Weeks turned into months. They were dead ends, false leads, and moments of deep frustration. Chinedu carried a weight of guilt, regretting his past choices and the years he had lost with his daughter. Adesua, while supportive, sometimes felt a pang of jealousy, a fear of the unknown girl who was biologically linked to her husband in a way she could never be. But she pushed those feelings aside, focusing on a bigger picture, the chances to build a larger, more complete family. One rainy afternoon in Lagos, as the city traffic snarled outside their window, Chinedu received a call. It was from an old friend who had remembered Ifyok mentioning a relative in Ibadan. It was a long shot, but it was the most promising lead they had in months. Chinedu and Adesua decided to travel to Ibadan the very next day. They left Femi and Oluwatoyin in the care of Adesua's auntie Ngozi, their hearts filled with a mixture of hope and depredation. Ibadan was a bustling city in its own right, but it felt different from the familiar chaos of Lagos. After a long day of searching and asking around, they finally found the relative Ifyok had mentioned. The relative, a kind elderly woman, was surprised to hear from Chinedu, but remembered Ifyok and her daughter. She explained that Ifyok had sadly passed away a few years prior to due illness. The news hit Chinedu like a punch to the guts. He had hoped to reconnect with Ifyok, to apologize for his past actions, and to understand her better. Now that chance was gone forever. However, the relative had more information. She knew where Abimbola was living, Ifyok had made arrangements for her to be cared for by a foster family in a small town just outside Ibadan. With newfound determination, Chinedu and Adeswa drove to the town. It was a quiet, peaceful place, a stark contrast to the vibrant energy of Lagos. After some inquiries, they found the foster family. Their hearts pounded as they stood at the door of the mother's house. A kind-faced woman answered their knock. Chinedu introduced himself, explaining his connection with Ifyok. The woman's eyes widened in surprise. She invited them in. Inside, they met Abimbola. She was a shy but bright-eyed girl, around 10 years old. She looked at Chinedu with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. The foster mother explained that Abimbola knew her mother had passed away, but knew nothing about her father. Chinedu knelt down. His eyes filled with tears as he looked at his daughter for the first time, Abimbola. He said softly, his voice thick with emotion, "I am your father." Abimbola's eyes widened in surprise, and she looked at Adeswa, who offered her a warm smile. The foster mother explained the situation to Abimbola in a gentle way. The initial meeting was emotional and overwhelming for everyone. Abimbola was understandably hesitant, trying to process the sudden appearance of a father she had never known. Chinedu was filled with remorse and a deep longing to connect with his daughter. Adeswa watched her heart filled with a mix of compassion and uncertainty. Over the next few days, Chinedu and Adeswa spent time with Abimbola, getting to know her, sharing stories about her mother, and slowly building a connection. Abimbola was a sweet and intelligent girl. She gradually started to warm up to her newfound father and Adeswa. They learned about her life, her school, her dreams. Chinedu promised to be a part of her life, to support her and love her. Adeswa also made a conscious effort to connect with Abimbola, treating her with kindness and genuine affection. Bringing Abimbola into their life wasn't easy. There were adjustments to be made, new routines to establish, and the challenge of blending two separate lives into one family. Femi and Oluwatoni were initially curious and a little unsure, but they soon welcomed Abimbola as their sister. Adeswa found herself navigating complex emotions. There were moments she felt like an outsider, a stepmother figure in a story that had started long before she came along. But her faith and her love for Chinedu helped her to embrace Abimbola fully. Chinedu worked hard to be a good father to all three of his children, balancing his time and attention, making sure Abimbola felt loved and included. He shared stories of his past with her, being honest about his mistakes and regrets. Life in their Lagos home became fuller, sometimes chaotic, but always filled with love. Abimbola adjusted well, her shy demeanor gradually giving way to a confident and happy young girl. She excelled in school and formed a close bond with Femi and Oluwatoni. Years passed, the children grew up together. Their bond as siblings strengthened with time. Adeswa and Chinedu watched with pride as their family flourished. They had faced unexpected challenges, secrets had been revealed, but their love and commitment had seen them through. One evening, as the family sat together during their dinner, laughter echoing around the table, Abimbola, now a young woman, looked at Adeswa. "Thank you, Mama," she said, her eyes filled with affection, "for welcoming me into your family. I know it wasn't easy." Adeswa smiled, her heart filled with warmth. "You are our daughter, Abimbola. We love you." Chinedu reached across the table and took Adeswa's hand. His eyes filled with gratitude. They had built a beautiful family, a testament to their resilience, their faith, and their unwavering love. However, as the years went by and the children eventually left home to pursue their own dreams, Adeswa noticed a change in Chinedu. He became more withdrawn, more reflective. He would often spend hours alone in his study, lost in thoughts. One evening, Adeswa found him looking at an old photograph, a picture of a young woman she didn't recognize. "Who is this, Chinedu?" she gently asked. Chinedu sighed, a look of sadness in his eyes. "This is Ifyok, Abimbola's mother." Adeswa sat beside him, putting her arms around him. She understood that despite the years that had passed, a part of him would always remember the woman who had given him his first child. "Do you ever think about what might have been?" Adeswa asked softly. Chinedu looked at her, her eyes filled with love and sincerity. My life is here with you, Adesua. You have given me more happiness than I had ever thought possible. But sometimes I wonder about Ifiok's life, about the choices she made. He then revealed something Adesua had never known. Ifiok had left behind a younger sister, someone Abimbola had lost contact with after her mother's death. Chinedu had recently found some information about her whereabouts. Adesua looked at her husband, a new wave of uncertainty washing over her. The door to the past had seemingly closed, but now a new one was creaking open. What would happen if they reached out to Ifiok's sister? What secrets might still be hidden? The journey of their family, it seemed, was far from over. The question of what this new connection would bring hung in the air, leaving Adesua with a sense of anticipation and subtle unease about the future. Follow and subscribe for more. Leave your comments behind. Thank you for watching.